Yashodanandana Prajajanarandana Yamunatira Yamunatira Varivrajakacharya Shrotra Shrotra Shishinare Sita Siddhanta Maharaj Prabhupada Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki. All glories to the symbol devotee. All glories to the symbol devotee. All glories to the Sri Guru. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, this morning we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, third canto, text 12, and that's the title of the third canto. Chapter 9, Brahma's prayers for creation. Service. Bhuyasvam tapatishva vidyam chaiva madashrayam abhyamantasridhi brahman sokhan drakshasya pabritan bhuyasvam tapatishva vidyam chaiva madashrayam abhyam antasridhi brahman sokhan drakshasya pabritan bhuyasvam tapatishva vidyam chaiva madashrayam abhyamantasridhi brahman Lokandrakshasya pavrita bhuyasvam tapatishta vidyam chaiva madashrayam adhyamanthastridi brahman lokandrakshasya pavrita vidyam chaiva madashrayam adhyamanthastridi brahman lokandrakshasya pavrita bhuyasvam tapatishta vidyam chaiva madashrayam adhyamanthastridi brahman lokandrakshasya pavrita bhuyah. Again, from yourself, tapaha, penance, atishta, be situated, vidyam, in the knowledge, cha, also, eva, certainly, much I, ashrayam, under the protection, abhyam, by those qualifications, antaha, within, really, in the heart, Brahman, O Brahman, Lokan, all the world, Rakshyati, you will see, Apavritan, all disclosed, O Brahma, situate yourself in penance and meditation, and follow the principles of knowledge to receive my favor. By these actions, you will be able to understand everything from within your heart. Purport. The mercy the Lord bestows upon a particular person engaged in executing the responsible work entrusted unto him is beyond imagination. But his mercy is received due to our penance and perseverance in executing devotional service. Brahma was entrusted with the work of creating the planetary system. The Lord instructed him that when he meditated, he would very easily know where and how the planetary system must be arranged. The directions were to come from within, and there were no necessities, and there was no necessity for anxiety in that task. Such instructions of Buddhi Yoga are directly imparted by the Lord from within, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 10:10. Shri Gurave Sukam Karati Bhuttam Yatripatamam Panchakalpatarubham Patitanam Pavanebhyo Hare Krishna Chaitanya Sri Advaita Gadadhar Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama O Brahma, situate yourself in penance and meditation and follow the principles of knowledge to receive my favor. By these actions, you will be able to understand everything from within your heart. Tapa Atishta. This is the instruction that Krishna spoke to Lord Brahma. So Brahma was disturbed, was feeling a great deal of anxiety, which indicates uh, a responsible and a healthy person. Brahma has taken the responsibility to create this universe, everything, and he felt anxiety. People who don't care, they don't have anxiety. People who do care, they have anxiety. That's the natural product of care. Like a mother who cares for her child. She's like Mother Yashoda. She's constantly in anxiety. Brihad Bhagavat Amrita. So a daily affair when Krishna goes out with Balaram and other gopas. And they keep when Krishna goes out to take care of the cows, take them out to the pasture, calves or cows, depending what age. And this is a daily affair. Mother Yashoda first has a hard time letting him out. And then when finally he leaves out of the house, then she stops him and she's double checking whether he has everything ready. Then she lets him go. Then he makes a couple of steps. Then she stops him again. Then she checks, did you take the samosa? And then she lets him go. Then she stops him again. No, no, wait. Balaram should go in front of you, he told him. And then she lets him, and like this. And then she has a very hard time letting him go because of anxiety, because she can't. But similarly, that's the difference between a nonsense devotee and a real devotee. Nonsense devotees, they just don't. Real devotees, they do care. There's ISKCON, temples, Vaishnava Sangha. There's the mission that Srila Prabhupada left. And so real devotees care. Nonsense, they just don't. Because they have not taken the responsibility. So Brahma here, he took responsibility. And therefore he cares. Therefore he's experiencing a little bit of anxiety. But Krishna tells him not to worry. Krishna tells him not to worry, and then he specifically tells him how not to worry. This was, first he said, you need not worry because I have already taken care of everything. You just do your best. That's all. So without much worry, go about doing your best. But even when you do your best, you still care. The natural product of that is not quite the mundane anxiety. The person cares, and the person has a lot on him. So Krishna tells him not to worry. So he has taken care of everything. He just needs to give it a shot. But even that, give it a shot. How? What? Where does he begin? What does he do? The situation is quite complex. And so then Krishna uh, did not tell him precisely what to do, but he told him what to do in order to learn what to do. So very specifically he told him, Tapa Atushta. First that he should situate himself in tapasya or austerity. Vidyam cha, as well as in knowledge. Uh, but that knowledge is a product of two things. It's product of this tapasya and mad ashrayam is the product of austerity and the product of taking shelter of Krishna. Mad ashrayam. And very specifically, interesting, the Prabhupada translates this as the meditation. So what does it mean to take shelter of Krishna? To meditate. It's just two of us. The rest are somewhere else. So to meditate, to perform austerities, and to meditate on Krishna. And the product of this is knowledge. And what's interesting, in the relationship with Prabhupada is knowledge of me, of Krishna. Um, so by this, things will be revealed to Krishna. Now what's interesting, if you look throughout the history of, if you look at the history of human concept of religion and how people went about religion, uh, people performed austerities. I'm thinking of Christian tradition, for example. Not so familiar with Islamic tradition. But in Christianity, we also find people performing austerities. And people performing austerities for two reasons. One reason was not to uh, not to allow them their senses to come to demand too much. Because once the senses demand too much, then the knowledge becomes impossible. When the senses start to demand, then the person literally becomes stupid. That is the result of the intense demanding of the senses. The person literally becomes, for example, modern civilization, even though people are quite sharp and intelligent, but for the most part, this is a stupid civilization because it concerns itself only with sensual gratification. This is Krishna also speaks of this in the Bhagavat. How the knowledge gets stolen by it. Then the person, due to this lust, becomes only interested in satisfying this lust, desire to gratify one's senses. And then that which is really important, such as the reason why we even exist, that question becomes unimportant. Therefore, in Vedic tradition, we find that tapasya is one of the basic principles of knowledge. And tapasya, very specifically, is stated to be the wealth of a Brahman. Tapasya is the wealth of a Brahman. The Brahman is supposed to know. Without this basis of tapasya, there is no knowledge. The person simply becomes bewildered. But never, throughout history, at least I'm not a really historian or an academic, so I can't make any absolute or very precise claims. But it seems to me from the little bit of knowledge that I have, that in Vedic history, we find this element of tapasya really, really um, pronouncedly present. Whenever someone wants to accomplish something, if you read the Puranas, for example, every time someone wants to accomplish something, they do austerity. Whether they're trying to gain powers, whether they're trying to satisfy someone, some other person to gain their blessings, seems to almost always it seems to be involved in tapasya. How did Hiranyakashipu become powerful? By tapasya. By tapasya. In the light of this discussion, became powerful by tapasya. Even what's his name? Some Indians, they won't get this. Uh, but Gandhi, sometimes known as Mahatma Gandhi, anyhow, it's widely available. If you want, you can read Gandhi's commentaries on the Bhagavat Gita. It is absolutely horrific, absolutely terrifying. I have never read anything so dumb. Uh, First of all, it's irrational, illogical, and then it has nothing to do with the Bhagavat. He said all the things that that Srila Prabhupada so strongly spoke against. For example, that Krishna was a mythical figure, and he said that everyone's God. He said a number of times. Um, and the conclusion of the Bhagavad Gita is to do philanthropic work, and that Krishna became the most prominent of all beings, because all beings are God, that's what he said. But Krishna somehow or other in history became very prominent because he did the most philanthropic work. First of all, where's that story? Where did he get that data from that Krishna did any kind of philanthropic work? And it's really bad. It's really, really bad. But even he, who was quite uneducated, it was remarkable how uneducated Gandhi was in terms of the Bhakti literature, or even of what educated of what religion is. He had a guru. Thanks to him, he had some belief in God, but again, his belief in God was really, really poisonous. And it just goes to show what happens when someone does not have a spiritual man. So he performed tapasya also. Due to that tapasya, did gain some powers and intrinsically effective. But what's interesting, without the guidance of the guru, his tapasya was really going in the wrong direction. Super, super in the wrong direction. However, Brahma is about to perform tapasya, but his tapasya is guided by a guru, and Brahma's guru is directly Krishna, doesn't it? But he has a guru, and therefore he is going to be successful in his Krishna consciousness, as opposed to other people. So typically tapasya is performed. It's a cultural element. Throughout history, people were doing it. And even now, people, if they want to accomplish something, they do tapasya. But you cannot speculate. You speculate, you become an atheist, like Gandhi. I mean, he so-called believed in God, but to him everyone was God. That's worse than atheism. Um, so you speculate, and more you speculate, more you approach, more you launch yourself into the field of atheism. You're not a theist. So this is very important. And that's why this element is there. Mud ashram, once you take shelter. And so by taking shelter of Krishna, the Prabhupada considers that as meditation. Then things get straight. Um, now we see that even devotees perform tapasya. When now tapasya, well, I should say this first. There's a verse by Ananda. Antar bahir yadi haris tapasa. Antar bahir. If one has understood or realized that Krishna is within and without, antar bahir yadi haris, then tapasa tataki. And what's the use of tapasya? There's actually no need to bow down to deity in the Bhagavat concept tapasya. It's not wrong, but Prabhupada told about it. There's no need to bow. Um, so one who has realized that Krishna is within and without, there is no use for such a person to perform austerity. Uh, what's the point of austerity? And then nantar bahiriyati. And a person has not realized that Krishna is within and without, then again, why austerity? In other words, he's saying austerities are pointless because austerities by themselves do not give Krishna, do not give the realization that there's Krishna from within. But yet Brahma is being engaged in tapasya here by Krishna because tapasya purifies. Tapaha sometimes is translated also as fire. It's an intense thing, like fire. And like fire purifies, so tapasya also purifies. But does not purify one in a Krishna conscious way. It simply prepares the ground for Krishna consciousness. So we find, uh, what did Daksha, how many sons did Daksha have? Daksha, how many sons did he have? 20? No, he had thousands. He had 10,000, then he had several batches of them, and I can't remember. Yeah, but one batch was at 10,000. Um, and what did Daksha tell him? What did Daksha engage him in? Yes, but before that, tapasya in the light, specifically in the light of this discussion. Daksha had him engaged in tapasya and meditation. And what did Srila Narada Muni think when he saw these sons of Daksha engaged in tapasya? What did Narada Muni think? Who of you have read this section of the Bhagavad? What did Narada Muni think? He thought, what a waste to miss out on this opportunity. They're performing tapasya, they're becoming purified. They're going to be engaged in mundane thing, namely the procreation of this world. Not a mundane thing that was service given to Daksha by Krishna himself. Not a mundane thing. But Narada Muni thought it's not directly devotional service. It's not intensely devotional service. So what I'm going to do, it'd be a shame. They're performing this tapasya. They're becoming purified. I shall now go and talk to them. Now that they're purified, when I tell them about Krishna, they're going to take to it immediately. Which is one of the reasons why it's so difficult to preach in America. Americans are not austere bunch of folk. Sense gratification and comfort are the major tenets of religion of materialism of America. Therefore, spiritual ideas just do not appeal to the American mind. But Haryashvas and what was the name of the other set of sons? Haryashvas and Samalash. Thank you. He woke up different time. They performed tapasya. So when they were exposed to Krishna consciousness, they immediately took it. To the point, to such an extent that they all took sannyas. They all took, and not just some sannyas where someone gives you a danda initiation mantra and tells you off you go. But we hear of no initiation. They just took off. They took off, went to the mountains, and meditated on the Supreme Personality of God and performed puja metta, whatever, for the rest of their lives. Daksha went completely insane. Very, very angry, frustrated. But that is the result of tapasya. But what's interesting here is that Krishna sent Brahma to perform tapasya also within Krishna consciousness. So think of me and perform tapasya. Now, specifically in this movement, the Hare Krishna movement, we don't have any super intense tapasya, but we have some. We have some tapas. And if we don't perform the tapasya, then the rest of Krishna consciousness becomes difficult. Not only that it becomes difficult, but becomes weird. What does it mean that it becomes weird? It works into something which is bizarre, not Krishna consciousness. So what are some of the austerities we do? We take only Krishna prasad, which means it's food that's prepared only by devotees with devotion for that we follow four regulative principles. But the largest, the very important one, is that this is a missionary movement. Prabhupada said it's easy to be a I guess someone's making fun of Prabhupada responding to that. Making fun of devotees. Like, what kind of tapas do you perform? We distribute to the Prabhupada. Well, we try to spread this movement. This is our tapasya. You try to do this. You go off to the mountains and you hide yourself. But this is what we do. We don't hide ourselves. We go amongst the people and we perform this tapasya. It's not easy to constantly think how to give people Krishna consciousness, how to extend Krishna consciousness to people in such a way that that they will actually be attracted to it and take it up. And then actually go out there and talk, make a radio. It's not easy. So this is tapas has by Sheshika Prabhu titled this book Family Business, distributing Srila Prabhupada. our family tapasya. And by the performance of this, while meditating on Krishna, chanting japa and doing puja, etc., then we become good. Otherwise, I guarantee, I give my hand, the person is going to go bizarre. So this is the concept. And then the knowledge becomes, you will be able to understand everything from within your heart. This is another very important statement. Tesham Satapayutana. Vajatam Priti Purya. Pradami Buddhi Yoga. This is Buddhi Yoga. And he quotes this verse. Buddhi Yoga. Tesham Nitya Vijnana. Yoga. Several slokas for this. But the point is that that in spiritual understanding comes from within. Does not come from the outside. This is a very important thing. Because what is Krishna consciousness? What is Krishna consciousness? Krishna consciousness is Bhakti. Now, rasa does not have an equivalent in the English language. Rasa, sometimes the Prabhupada used the English word flavor to translate. How do you philosophically, intellectually, or in any other way communicate to someone what rasa is? And very specifically, what is bhakti rasa? Or what is the nature of one's spiritual, mental, emotional state when one is uh, in bhakti yoga, in connection with Krishna through the process of bhakti, or in the bhakti capacity. Bhakti rasa bhavitamati. Bhakti rasa. So this is something that has to be experienced from within. And so by doing these things, one comes to experience Krishna consciousness from within. And for atheists also, this is the proof. Sometimes they demand varieties of proofs, but ultimately, the proof of Krishna consciousness is your experience of it. So Prabhupada also said this once. He asked, why do you believe in God? And so Prabhupada accepted only one answer of one devotee. Because of the experience, I have experienced of it. Yes. Krishna consciousness is something that has to be experienced from within. And that is experienced when we follow Krishna's instructions. And very specifically in the light of today's verse, as we meditate, serve Krishna's purpose, Krishna's mission, while performing tapas. Then the knowledge is revealed from within. The understanding, Krishna consciousness is revealed from within. So, are there any questions or comments? Mellow for us. Must have been a Western. No? Mm. If I was Krishna, I would not reveal myself to such a person. Like, what are you? What do you want with me? Yeah. Shankaraj, Bhagavatam, Sattva, Bhagavad Gita. Oh, you can't